Now that we have our scored building for 101, we're going to make some upgrades to this building according to the documentation that we have on the building, and also looking to the suggested upgrade opportunities from the asset score model that we did earlier. We know that we're not going to be changing the geometry of the building, and a lot of the assets are staying the same. So the most efficient way to remodel this building with some changes is to copy the building. So we'll go into the Manage Building view and we'll find Building 101. And we know this is the building where we had the score of 5.5. And we can go over here and duplicate the building by clicking on this button. So we get a notice that the duplication succeeded, and now we can go to the My Buildings view and we'll see it there. So here's our Building 101 copy, and this is the one that we will modify in order to add the upgrades and improve the score. So let's open this building. Now, one of the things that we looked at earlier was the report for Building 101, the original Building 101. And the cost-effective upgrade opportunities suggested had to do with adding insulation to the building envelope. We are not going to make those changes in the model. It's a masonry backup with brick exterior wall assembly in all of the blocks, and so that's not an easy assembly to insulate, and is not in fact what happened to the building, so we won't be making that change. The suggestion for roof insulation would make sense if we were at a point where building roof replacement was happening, but that's not in the cards right now anyway, so we won't be changing that part of the building either, nor are the windows going to be changed, not that they were particularly suggested. For interior lighting, Asset Score suggested that we add some lighting controls, which did happen in the renovation of this building, so we'll be modeling that. And there were suggestions from Asset Score to do with the mechanical system, which actually also did occur. So I'm going to briefly show the report on Building 101 that was created by the Consortium for Building Energy Innovation. And this report lists the changes made to this building in the executive summary and also noted in this table. A building automation system was installed. Interior lighting and exterior lighting controls were implemented. Variable frequency drives were replaced in the air handling units. And different controls were added for the variable air volume. And temperature, relative humidity, and carbon dioxide sensors were added for the VAV zone controls. Some air distribution testing and balancing was done. Again, some lighting controls and some LED lamps were added. In addition, a condensing unit failed while the energy efficiency measures were being evaluated for the building. And the unit that failed was one of 3 older units, so those were all replaced. And we can add that to our model as well. So let's go back into Asset Score and make these changes. So our blocks didn't change, our use did not change, our assemblies did not change. On the lighting side, we do have some changes. Our lighting has changed in that we've upgraded to T5 fluorescence, and these are all pendant. So we can take our existing pendant compact fluorescent and edit that. Keep the pendant mounting type, but change the lamp to T5s. The wattage on the lamps for these are 32 watts, and there are 8 lamps per fixture. So we'll update that fixture. And our recessed compact fluorescent is gone, so we can get rid of that. Whenever you're going to delete something, Asset Score makes sure that you're sure so that you don't inadvertently get rid of something that you need. Our pendant LEDs will stay. Now we'll need to go back and adjust the area served by the lighting since we've gotten rid of one fixture type. We can go back to our blocks and we can edit the lighting. Now that we've changed this fixture type, we need to make sure that our lighting is shown properly in each of these blocks. So now we can double click on each block and we can see that we have the pendant fluorescent T5 serving 90% of the space, but we don't have 100% covered. In reality, in this building, the pendant LED lamps are serving 1 tenant space. So this south block would have all of the pendant fluorescent T5s, and we can change this percentage served to 100%. We also know that lighting controls were added. The option here is to say whether we have occupancy controls or not, so we will check that box, and we can close that. Our next block, we'll change this to 100% served and add the occupancy controls and close that. And the lower level. Here we're showing the pendant LED, and we'll adjust this to add up to 100%. The pendant fluorescent is going to be an estimate of about 80%, since we know it's one tenant space that's using the pendant LED. So we'll estimate that to be 20% of that block and put occupancy controls for both of them. We'll make this 100% served for that block and add occupancy controls. And also on the north block, we'll put 100% and occupancy controls. Now we've modified our lighting to reflect the change in the fixture type and the percentages that correspond to the reality of the building. Now I can enter the upgraded cooling units. So I can edit my first air handler and upgrade the cooling equipment. It's still a Central DX, but it's a 2013 unit. We don't know the COP, and the capacity is 60 tons. And since they also upgraded controls on their mechanical equipment, we can change some of that here. Our source for the heating is still the plant. We still have our boiler, but we now have demand controlled ventilation, and we have supply air temperature reset and fan static pressure reset. So we can update this air handler. These different controls are aspects of the building automation system that was upgraded for Building 101. So we don't have an overall building automation system box that we check, but we can make modifications to the mechanical equipment that is now controlled by this more sophisticated system. But we can make changes to the mechanical equipment for the controls that it enables, like the demand controlled ventilation. So we don't have an overall building automation system checkbox in the assets score, but we do have changes we can make within the mechanical equipment and within the lighting to accommodate the automatic controls that we now have. So let's edit our second air handler. Again, upgrading the manufacturer of the cooling unit to 2013, taking out the COP, and adding the demand controlled ventilation to the fan system, supply air temperature reset, and fan static pressure reset. And our third air handler. Our third piece of cooling equipment is actually a 40-ton unit, so that did stay the same. The capacities of these replaced units didn't change. So we've upgraded our direct expansion units to the newer equipment that was installed. We've added our demand controlled ventilation, our supply air temperature reset, and our fan static pressure reset. We upgraded our lighting and added our lighting controls. So those are the changes that were made to the building, and now we can score our building again and see what kind of an effect these upgrades have on our score.